Everyone thought Grandpa was forgetful, until his granddaughter opened one old box. Grandpa forgot where he parked his truck. Then he forgot where he left his glasses. One afternoon, he called the family dog by the name of a dog they had buried over 20 years ago. Everyone said the same thing. He's getting old. That's just what happens. But 7-year-old Lily didn't believe that, because every time everyone else said Grandpa had forgotten something, she noticed something no one else did, and what she found inside one dusty wooden box would change her entire family forever. But wait, before I continue, I'd love for you to do something for me. If stories like this move you, kindly hit subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comment section. Now, back to the story. The Carter family gathered every Sunday at Grandpa Henry's farmhouse. It sat at the end of a quiet country road, surrounded by towering oak trees that had watched generations grow up. The old porch creaked. The wind chimes danced softly in the breeze. Everything about the place felt frozen in time. Grandpa Henry had lived there for almost 50 years. After Grandma Eleanor passed away 6 years earlier, he refused to leave. "This house still talks to me," he'd always say. Most people assumed he simply couldn't let go. But Lily loved hearing him say it. She was 7 years old, endlessly curious, and unlike the adults, she never laughed when Grandpa said unusual things. She listened, really listened. One Sunday afternoon, while everyone prepared lunch inside, Grandpa wandered into the backyard carrying an empty watering can. He stood in front of a flower bed that no longer existed. He smiled, then quietly poured invisible water onto dry grass. Lily watched from the porch. Her father sighed. "There he goes again," her aunt whispered. "It's getting worse." Her uncle shook his head. "I think it's time we talk about assisted living." Nobody noticed Grandpa quietly smiling at something only he seemed to understand. Nobody, except Lily. She walked over and gently took his hand. "Grandpa, what flowers are you watering?" He smiled without looking at her. "Your grandma planted roses here." Lily looked around. There were no roses, only grass. "But they're beautiful today," he whispered. She looked again. Still nothing Ballersians, but she smiled anyway. "I bet they are." Grandpa squeezed her little hand. "You see more than the grown-ups do." She didn't fully understand what he meant, but somehow, those words stayed with her. That evening, during dinner, Grandpa suddenly stood up. "I almost forgot." Everyone froze. He walked toward the hallway, then stopped halfway there. His face went blank. What was I looking for? Silence filled the room. Lily's mother quietly wiped a tear. Her father stared at his plate. Nobody knew what to say anymore. Grandpa smiled awkwardly. Oh well, it couldn't have been important. Everyone tried to keep eating, but the room felt different now. He wasn't just forgetting little things anymore, or so they thought. Later that night, Lily couldn't sleep. She walked past Grandpa's bedroom and noticed a light still on. Peeking through the cracked door, she saw him sitting alone in his old rocking chair. He wasn't confused. He wasn't lost. He wasn't staring blankly into space. He was writing. Page after page, carefully, slowly, as though every word mattered. Then he folded the paper, placed it inside an envelope, wrote a name across the front, and slipped it into a large wooden box beneath the bed. Lily frowned. The next morning she asked him, "What were you writing?" Grandpa smiled. "Just making sure I don't forget something important." She thought that was strange. If he was losing his memory, why was he writing so much? Why hide the letters? And why did he seem completely different whenever nobody else was around? Weeks passed. Grandpa became more forgetful. He wore mismatched shoes to church, forgot birthdays, repeated the same stories at dinner. The family grew more worried. Doctors scheduled more appointments. Neighbors began whispering. But Lily kept noticing something strange. Whenever Grandpa forgot something in front of everyone, he always looked toward the grandfather clock in the hallway, every single time. One rainy afternoon, she finally asked, "Grandpa, why do you always look at the clock?" For a moment, his cloudy expression disappeared. His eyes turned sharp, almost young again. He smiled softly, because time remembers, even when people don't. Then he changed the subject. Lily couldn't stop thinking about those words. That weekend, while helping clean the attic, she found something unusual behind several dusty photo albums. A tiny brass key, tied to a faded tag. 3 handwritten words, "For Lily only." Her heart raced. She had never seen the key before. She quietly slipped it into her pocket. That evening, Grandpa asked, "Did you find anything interesting upstairs?" Lily froze. Before she could answer, he smiled. "You'll know when it's time." Then he walked away. She never told anyone about the key. 3 days later, everything changed. Grandpa didn't recognize Lily. For the first time ever, he looked directly at her and asked, "And whose little girl are you?" Her heart shattered. She forced a smile.
Because time
"I'm Lily."
remembers.
He smiled kindly. "That's a beautiful name."
People don't.
That night, the entire family cried. Her father called another specialist. Her aunt began researching nursing homes. Everyone believed the end was coming. Everyone except Lily. Because just before Grandpa went to bed, he quietly winked at her, like nothing had happened. And for one brief second, she saw the same Grandpa she had always known. The next morning, his bedroom was empty. The family panicked. His truck was still outside. His wallet remained on the dresser. His phone sat charging by the bed. Police were about to be called. Until Lily remembered the brass key. She ran upstairs, past the attic, past the old photo boxes, toward the small locked storage room nobody had opened in years. Her hands trembled as she slid the key into the lock. It clicked. The door slowly opened. Inside, there wasn't treasure. There wasn't money. There wasn't a hidden fortune. Only shelves, hundreds, no, thousands, of neatly labeled envelopes, and one old wooden box sitting alone in the center of the room. On top, a handwritten note, "For my family, when you finally understand."
Did you find anything interesting?
Grandpa Henry sat quietly in a rocking chair inside the room, almost as if he'd been waiting. He smiled when he saw her in the doorway. "I was wondering how long it would take." Lily looked confused. "You knew about this room?" Grandpa chuckled. "I built it." She looked around again. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, every one filled with carefully arranged envelopes. Some small, some thick, some decades old. The wooden box sat in the middle, like it belonged in a museum. Its brass corners faded, its lid worn smooth from countless hands. Lily walked toward it. "Can I open it?" Grandpa nodded. "I think you're ready." Her fingers lifted the heavy lid. Inside were dozens of neatly tied bundles of handwritten letters, each one carrying a name. Sarah, Michael, Emma, David, Olivia, Jacob, every member of the Carter family, even names Lily had only heard in old stories. At the very bottom, one tiny envelope, written in careful handwriting, "For Lily." She looked back at Grandpa. "Why did you write all these?" He smiled. "Because memories disappear, but love shouldn't." Lily opened her envelope. Inside was a single folded letter. "Dear Lily, if you're reading this, then everyone probably thinks I've forgotten the world. The truth is, I'm simply trying very hard not to forget the people I love." Tears filled her eyes. She looked up. Grandpa was watching quietly. "I don't understand." He reached for another bundle. "This one is for your father." Lily handed it to him. He slowly unfolded it. "I wrote this 23 years ago." Lily gasped. "So long?" He nodded. "I started after your grandma got sick." He stared toward the window. "One evening she forgot my birthday. She looked at me and introduced herself like we'd never met." His voice cracked. "I promised myself that if memory ever stole either of us, our family would still know exactly how much they were loved. So I started writing. One letter every week, no matter what." Lily looked around the room. "There are so many." Grandpa smiled. "I never missed a week, not once." Downstairs, the family realized Lily had disappeared. Her father searched every room. Her mother checked outside. Then they noticed the attic ladder was down. Michael climbed first. When he reached the hidden room, he froze. Everyone crowded behind him. Nobody spoke. Thousands of envelopes filled the walls. Sarah whispered, "Oh my God." Grandpa slowly stood. "I guess you finally found them." Michael looked at his father. "Dad, what is all this?" Grandpa walked toward the box. "I've been writing to you for decades." Michael laughed nervously. "Why?" "I wanted to tell you everything I might never get another chance to say." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. He handed Sarah her letters. Michael received his. Emma received hers. Even little Lily hugged her own envelope tightly. Every person held a piece of Grandpa's heart. Sarah opened hers first. The date shocked her. April 18th, 1998. She hadn't even graduated college yet. She read aloud. "Sarah, today you told me you wanted to become a teacher. I hope one day, when you're exhausted from helping children, you'll remember how proud I was the moment you said those words." Sarah burst into tears. "How could you know I'd need this today?" Grandpa smiled. "Because parents never stop watching." Michael opened another letter, his hands trembling. Son, if you ever blame yourself for not visiting enough, don't. Life gets busy. Love isn't measured by calendars. Michael buried his face in his hands. For years he'd carried guilt, working longer hours, missing birthdays, always promising he'd visit next weekend. Now his father had forgiven him long before he'd ever apologized. One by one, the family opened their letters. Some laughed, some cried, some just hugged each other without a word. Lily noticed Grandpa sitting back in his rocking chair, watching, smiling. Not because people were reading his words, but because for the first time in months, nobody was talking about what he had forgotten. They were finally seeing everything he had remembered. Then Lily noticed one final envelope still resting in the box. Unlike the others, it wasn't addressed to one person. Across the front were 5 words. Open after I'm gone. The room fell silent. Nobody reached for it. It just sat there, waiting. Lily looked at Grandpa. Can we read it now? He smiled. Not yet. Her father carefully picked it up. Dad, why would you write something like this? Grandpa looked around the room, at every face he loved, his children, his granddaughter, the family he'd spent his life protecting. There are some things, he said softly, that people can only truly hear when they're ready. He gently took the envelope back and placed it inside the box. That one still has work to do. No one argued. For the first time in months, the family stopped treating Grandpa like someone who was disappearing. Instead, they spent the rest of the afternoon listening. Really listening. Grandpa told stories nobody had heard before. How he met Grandma Eleanor when he was 19. How she beat him at checkers on their first date. How she secretly hated coffee but drank it every morning just to sit with him on the porch. The family laughed until tears rolled down their faces. Lily noticed something incredible. The more everyone listened, the less Grandpa seemed to forget. It wasn't that his memory had returned. It was something else. Nobody interrupted him. Nobody corrected him. Nobody finished his sentences. They simply gave him time. And somehow, that made all the difference. Over the next several weeks, Sunday dinners changed. Nobody whispered about nursing homes anymore. Instead, every Sunday became letter day. Grandpa would choose one envelope, only one, and hand it to whoever needed it most. When Michael lost his job, there was already a letter waiting for him. Inside, one line. The job was never what made you a good father. Showing up did.
Tell each other.
Even Lily received small notes. One after losing her first tooth, another after her first day of second grade. One simply said, "Never stop asking questions. Curious hearts never grow old." She carried that note in her backpack for years. Spring became summer. Summer became autumn. Grandpa moved slower now. His hands trembled more. Some mornings he forgot the day of the week. Other mornings he forgot where the kitchen was. But one thing never changed. Every evening he still wrote. One letter, every single night. Sometimes it took him an hour to write one page. His handwriting grew shakier. The ink smudged. But he refused to stop. Lily asked him one evening, "Grandpa, why do you keep writing if there are already so many?" He smiled. "Because tomorrow might give me one more thing to thank God for." One snowy December morning, the family got the call. Grandpa Henry had quietly passed away in his sleep. No pain, no fear, just peace. The whole town came to his funeral. Neighbors, old friends, former students, people the family had never even met. Each one had a story. He fixed my roof after the storm. He paid for my groceries when I couldn't. He never forgot my birthday. Lily smiled through her tears. Maybe Grandpa's greatest memory was remembering everyone else's life. That evening, the family returned to the farmhouse one final time. The house felt quieter than ever. The clock still ticked. The wind chimes still danced outside. Everything looked the same, except Grandpa's rocking chair. It sat empty, waiting. Lily carried the old wooden box into the living room. No one spoke. She lifted the final envelope, the one everyone had been afraid to open. "Open after I'm gone." With trembling hands, she unfolded the letter. Inside, Grandpa had written one last message. "My dear family, if you're reading this, don't waste today being sad for me. I've already lived the life I prayed for. I fell in love with your grandmother. I watched my children grow into good people. I held my granddaughter's tiny hand. What more could a man ask for? If my memory failed near the end, don't let that become my story. Remember the years I loved you, not the days I forgot your names. A person's life should never be measured by how it ended. Measure it by how many hearts became better because they existed. Promise me something. Talk to each other. Forgive quickly. Visit more often. Take the family picture even when nobody wants to. Laugh loudly. Write things down. Tell people you love them before life gives you a reason to wish you had. And every now and then, plant roses. Even if one day nobody remembers where they came from. No one could hold back their tears. Michael quietly walked outside, behind the house, to the exact patch of grass everyone thought was empty. Without a word, he picked up a shovel. The rest of the family joined him. That spring, they planted a rose garden. Not because Grandpa had forgotten where the flowers were, but because he never had. Years later, little children would ask why those roses grew in the middle of the yard. And Lily, now a grown woman, would smile and say, "Those flowers were planted by a man everyone thought was losing his memory." But the truth was, he spent his whole life making sure the people he loved would never forget his. And every Sunday, fresh flowers still appear beside Grandpa Henry's rocking chair. No one ever admits who brings them. Maybe it doesn't matter, because some memories don't live in our minds. They live in the love we leave behind. If this story reminded you to call someone you love today, subscribe. We share stories like Grandpa Henry's every week.